Hi, my name is Al Green. Not that one, but the struggling guy who was in the music industry for years trying to sell talent and songs to agents. The agents befriended me and taught me techniques that I want to pass on to you through my program, which is called You Can Talk, You Can Sell. Anyone who has ever taken this program has excelled in selling and either risen to the top of their company, their team, or the top of their field. It's called You Can Talk, You Can Sell, and you can get it right here. If you're like me, you've struggled, you have not hit the ground running, you're kind of on a ramp up to get moving. You're like an airplane that has to taxi first before it takes off, and yet your company is probably expecting you to take off and fly high. In reality, we all have to start somewhere, and if we don't know what we're doing, we have to learn. A lot of us think we can learn by experience, and there's a lot of people in business who basically expect business to come their way, or they find it by stumbling over it, which can happen, and that's a good thing. But if you were struggling like me, I mean really on the verge of getting fired because of the fact that I was not hitting the numbers, then I had an epiphany that changed everything. And it was something that I used for so many years that it was making me one of the successful top-selling people in the companies that I worked for. I had changed companies a couple times because sometimes the grass really was greener. And so if the money's better, then the grass is definitely greener. But here's what happened to me. I was selling a type of reproduction machine that architects and engineers would buy. And there's only several thousand of them in the area that I work, which was the metropolitan Los Angeles County. And there's architects and designers and manufacturing people everywhere that need to reproduce, at the time, machines. This is years before the computers took over. But what ended up happening was I got to the point where I figured I'm never going to sell one of these machines and they're going to fire me anyway. So I had one more demonstration to do to one of the owners. And I opened up the machine and I set it up and I basically told them, before we start, let me tell you exactly what this machine will not do. And I was thinking of all of the objections that I had heard over the last year. And I told him everything that I thought was wrong with this machine and the kind of complaints that I got from people and the kind of questions that people had that I couldn't answer. And I started improvising answers, but what happened was I basically ran down everything that was wrong with this machine. And then finally, when I was done, I just really didn't care what was going to be the reaction. But the reaction I got was, well, then tell me, what does it do? So now I got the customer coming to me with the questions that are basically the type of questions you handle while you're closing, but all positive because I accidentally got all of the objections out of the way first. A technique I replicated many times over the years that always worked for me. In the long run, what ended up happening was that day is he asked me how much it was going to cost. And so I said, I'll get to that in a minute. So I basically, without saying, what do you think of the machine? I was done. I said, okay, now, are you pleased with the results? And he goes, yeah, this thing's really cool. And I explained to him how to overcome some of the obstacles that you would find during objection handling. Like, it was a reproduction machine for copies that had to be exact size, and I explained to him how to get over that because they were not exact size. And I had a technique for getting him to actually get sizable copies. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, he asked me how much it was. When I gave him the price, he basically stopped and he said, you know, you have a competitor that's selling it for $500 less. And I said, okay, can you get a quotation from that competitor? And he goes, yeah. I said, get the quotation, I'll tell you why. I know the competitor, They're a good company, but they can't do what my company can do, which is manufacture the supplies for this machine. We actually manufacture them. And if that person who's selling it to you will give you a $500 discount, what they cannot do is what I can do, which is give you $1,000 worth of supplies that you're going to need to spend over the next year anyway. And all I need you to do is buy it at the list price and buy the service contract, which is only going to cost you $300, so you're going to spend a little bit more money. But in the long run, it's going to save you over the next year. And that's something that I happen to know my competitor can't do. So you have a choice. You can go with me or you can go with my competitor. So he basically said, no, I'm going to go with you. Because I explained to him what the supplies were. And I said immediately, something I learned when I was in advertising, which was, you got your checkbook handy? In those days, that's how we did things. Get your checkbook. And the guy started laughing. And one of the supervisors I sold for years before told me, if you can get them laughing about writing a check, you've got the sale. So I had the guy laughing. So I basically used to carry a very expensive pen in those days, like a Mont Blanc, a very nice pen. That was a lot of money. And when he was sitting down with his checkbook, I'd pick up the pen and I'd go, here, why don't you use my pen? And therefore, here's how you make out the check. And the guy did everything I asked him to. And then he asked me one question, which really blew my mind. He goes, okay, I want this machine, but what did you bring me, a demo or a brand new one? I said, no, I brought you a demo. He goes, all right, I don't want to pay that much money for a demo. I said, okay. He says, do you have a brand new machine that you could bring me? I said, yeah, how about if I do this? How about if I leave you this machine tonight, and you guys can use it, and don't worry about the supplies or anything, and I'll wheel in a brand new machine tomorrow. And the way we knew this is these machines have little meters on the back of how much use they get. That satisfied him, and I walked out with a check and a signed sales agreement. Now, ironically, the next day I went there, I delivered the machine, and I picked up the demo, went on to another company that I had made an appointment with, and I walked in and I showed them that machine, and right off the bat, they said, we want this, we'll give you a PO right now, can you leave this machine with me? And I told the guy, it's a demo. And he goes, I don't really care. If it's got a service contract, it's not that much broken in. It's been used how many times? I said, maybe 5 demonstrations. And he said, okay, I want this machine. Can you leave me this machine? And I said, yes, I can. So we wrote up the sales order, and I walked out with a purchase order. Now, within 2 days, I sold 2 machines, and it hit me. I did something completely different. I didn't use I got to sell you this kind of an attitude. Now, when you come into, why are you here? Why would you take my course, the 6-figure selling system? Because you're going to learn techniques like that you're going to customize for your own job to do it your way, and the information in every one of the lessons is great information. No, I'm not delivering it with a high fever pitch and yelling and trying to show you that I can create charisma, because the information is what you really need. Information that you can understand and put into effect right away. You can create your own way of working that doesn't have anything to do with being told what to do. You're going to find your own way to do it, like I did. Ironically, after I got to the point where I was the #1 person that month who sold more machines than anybody, they asked me to start training people. And I basically negotiated and said, okay, if you want me to train, I need something for that because it's my time. And they gave me an increase in my salary, because I was working on a salary plus commission, so that I would take the time and train people. And I took everybody out, and those who listened and paid attention actually did pretty good. The brand new people that didn't want to listen and figured, okay, all you got to do is go see people, which is part of it, they didn't fare so well. And usually those people last about 2-3 months. They get a few paychecks in, and then they're gone. You don't want to be that. You want to be a person that realizes that you're sitting on a gold mine, that you can get a job anytime you want in life. Because salespeople are always in demand. And right now, when the economy is down, this is when you're needed the most, because companies need sales. And a lot of people take the job just because they got to get a job. But if you're not actually putting your heart into the matter and really making it work, really making it a go, then basically you're fooling yourself. So when you sign up for my program, why would you do that and spend a little bit of money to make thousands and thousands more? Why would you do that? Well, you can become an expert, or you can decide that you want to stay where you are. That's up to you. But basically, what you want to think about is improving yourself and developing a career you could always have. Now, if you want to go back to being a regular person in a different job, that's fine. If you have a yearning to do art, fine. You got to sell your art. If you have a yearning to do something else, any other kind of services, mechanical or anything you want to be, you can always go back and do that. But on the other hand, when the companies get tough and they start laying people off, you always have a job to go to, because there's always a need for salespeople. Take that into consideration and consider taking my course, The 6-Figure Selling System.